You are now listening to the Lasting Legacy Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Lasting Legacy Podcast. Before we start today's show, please subscribe down below because we want to get to 200 subscribers for really no reason other than to just keep the podcast alive, basically. So let us know that you like it. Like 78% of people don't even subscribe, but they still watch the videos. So
press that button.
Press the button and
ring
leave
that
a comment.
bell.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, do that too. Just do all of the stuff,
all of the
that helps us. So today we have a very special guest. We have Salind, and she is the owner of the Rooted Rose Yoga Studio up in Fountain, Colorado today. So we'll talk about that, and it'll be cool to have someone outside of the Pueblo realm.
Yeah,
too.
Look at us spreading our wings.
Excited
to be here.
We're a peacock. We need to fly. So help us take flight here.
Yes.
But I'm David. David took it photography, videography, and I usually ask the questions around here. So welcome. Let's just get into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Let's see. I grew up in Fountain, born and raised, and let's see. So I've always wanted to own a small business. I grew up doing martial arts, and so I wanted to own a taekwondo school. That's what I wanted to do. So I went all the way to get my 3rd degree black belt and kind of fell out of that practice once I graduated high school and moved out of the state to North Carolina. And when I moved back home to Colorado, I found yoga and healing, and it was meant to be to open up that studio, and they kind of go hand in hand where, having that. And the cool thing about it is where I did martial arts, it's in a plaza and it's in the corner, and my studio now is actually right next door to it.
That's
so the martial arts studio isn't there anymore, but I mean, it's just really cool to go back. I mean, over 20 years later, to have a small business right there in the community. Yes.
That's awesome. So in high school, you knew you were going to be a small business owner?
Probably before high school, probably middle school. I mean, I got my 1st degree black belt when I was 10, and then 2nd when I was 12, 13, and then made my way when I was 18. And yeah, I mean, I knew I always wanted to have a small business.
No, that's awesome, because I feel like a lot of people don't think of that as a viable option, unless your parents are small business owners. I feel like most kids, especially that age, don't think that is an option. Mm-hmm. I'm going to get a job and work for somebody else, but
no, my parents were always, and still are to this day, just very supportive in like what I want to do. And my dad has been just amazing helping build the studio, and
that's awesome.
He's super excited and proud.
It's all about support. It
Yes.
truly is. And then you said you moved to the East Coast.
I did for a little over a year. I got married right out of high school to my high school sweetheart. Nice. And he joined the Marine Corps, and that it took us to North Carolina for a little bit, and then this was our home, so we moved back when he got out. And
nice.
Yes.
Heck yeah.
North Carolina sucks. Right.
Actually, I really like it.
Did you? Okay.
I think I even told you it's if we had to move somewhere. I mean, North Carolina, it's really beautiful. It's got mountains, the beach, it's green. I love.
I went there for like a week. I was like, let's play this.
What part?
I was in Raleigh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was played a racquetball tournament there, and I was like, man,
this is gonna make one
was
hell of a reel.
Was it the humidity? Okay, that's probably
Super
the
hot,
least is the humidity.
I feel like if you come from Colorado, you have to like, if you live there maybe for a while, maybe you get used to it.
I don't know.
But I'm just like, oh man, anywhere around the beach and humid, it's like count me out.
Yeah.
So did you dabble in any like small business ventures, or were you a stay-at-home mom when you were out there, or what did you do?
Let's see. When I was in North Carolina, that's I started working at Best Buy, and it was really nice to meet people there. I think when you, especially first time moving out of state, because I grew up here and it was my first time, biggest thing that my dad told me was, find something that you like to do and you make the most of it. Even if you don't like the place, I knew I wasn't going to be there forever. So we went shopping for like an Xbox and a TV, and I was like, I think I'll put an application in, and it was really great, and I was able to transfer from North Carolina back to Colorado, and so that made the transition coming back home easier. And let's see, small business that didn't start until I had my child in 2016. So
awesome.
Then
so you worked with Brad at Best Buy.
I did work with Brad at Best Buy.
Yeah, she was my boss.
I was his boss.
You're his boss. All right, let's get into it. How was Brad as an employee?
Let's see. He was good when he was there, and I'm just gonna be honest. I had to sit him down one time and tell him, like, please stop being late. Like, do not want to have to write you up. Like, you cannot be late. Just please come. And then when he was there, he's a great worker, but he was on Brad time.
That's why I started my own company.
And that's
I
what's great
literally,
about it, yes.
I knew I could never have a job that requires me to be there at 9:00 on the dot or
Brad
something.
is always late. Today's the
like-
first day he's ever been on time to the podcast.
It's probably because I was coming.
probably.
I know. I was
He was
like, I
cleaning.
have flashbacks.
Yeah, he's like organizing everything.
I was like,
here.
oh, Celine's coming. My boss is gonna write me up.
Right,
I better
no,
get here
exactly.
on time.
No.
I dusted everything. Yeah. No,
Everything.
Good job. Proud of
I just had to know because obviously I've known Brad the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm sure that Brad is totally different than young college racquetball playing Brad. Were you working while you played racquetball?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I worked at Best Buy for a while.
Oh, okay. Yeah. See, I just don't know him.
I think. Well, yeah, I don't remember.
Still learning.
You're still learning.
I think maybe the last year of college, I was playing racquetball and at Best Buy.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that I ever met you. I think I met you. You started there after I was even out of college.
Oh, wow.
So I was just
He was a washed-up
wandering
college
lost
athlete.
Brad at that point.
Oh,
I was
my
like,
goodness.
someone hire
Yeah.
me, pay me more money. So
I just had to ask. It has nothing to do with you.
But not working customer service, just something you could do on your own.
yes,
On your own.
basically, yeah. That's why I did the projects team stuff.
That makes sense.
So I didn't really have a boss there.
So you were the store manager?
I was I was operations manager, so
okay.
I handled the front end and the back end. So basically everything minus, actually I don't know, because sometimes I was there by myself with keys, and so it was a small enough store where
For sure.
I would be in charge of everything, but mostly front end and back end.
Nice.
So do you see any translation or benefit from that job at Best Buy to the business?
Oh yeah, I would say reading reports, pulling reports, and just knowing where your money's going, how you're planning, because that was a big thing. First thing in the morning to pull reports and just to see how the day was yesterday, what we have to do today, and also the ad set too. Just advertising, marketing. I learned a lot from Best Buy, and so I'm very grateful to have stepped into that role, and it has carried me and helped me through now.
Were you ever a salesperson at Best Buy?
I started in North Carolina as a salesperson and then transferred.
Did you ever do their sales trainings?
Yes, I went to
the
Atlanta,
weekend
Georgia for mine, and it was a week, and that was pretty cool. And Denver, I think once or twice.
I did that too. Best Buy really did train their salespeople really well for what you could fit in a 4-day training
For
course.
a big box store where you don't feel like you matter when you first walk in, because it is such a big company that they did, I think, make it accessible to give you those tools to be accessible.
That's awesome.
Yeah, when I was doing it, I always was just this is kind of boring, whatever, just Best Buy, just selling TVs, working retail. But when I think about the lessons that they did teach me in those sales courses to real business, it makes so much sense. Bundling, asking people, it's just about finding the solution for any client that can fit to anybody.
Yeah. Yep.
Same thing with Verizon when I was there. It's all about finding your total solution is what they call it.
Product knowledge. I mean, once you've
product
got that
knowledge,
foundation down, you could cars, phones,
anything.
Best Buy, taxes,
Yoga studios.
Adrian Duran, the guy we had on 2 podcasts ago, it's called The Process, and as long as you know the process, you can transfer that process to anything, and you're just selling the process at that point. So at what point you're at Best Buy and you're like, oh, I think I'm gonna start doing yoga, or kind of how did you get into it?
No, 2016. Yeah, so I got pregnant, and then I had my child, and I saved up a lot of my time to take off maternity leave. So we get our set amount, and then I just kind of piggybacked off of that, and then extended it. So I was off for about 4 months, and motherhood. I mean, it's been amazing, and I was very grateful to spend all that time with my son. And when it was time to come back, it just was I don't know if I could do this. It was a full-time job, 40 plus hours, and to just be leaving him and it going by so fast, I knew it was time to step back, and I was able to do that. And so I did put in my 2 weeks notice. I transitioned out of, corporate America, and then I was home with the baby. But then I think going from working, and then being at home, and then trying to find that balance, and then being back home, I've worked since I was able to. So I really did miss that. I truly enjoyed Best Buy. I do enjoy working. And so I'm like, okay, what can I do that's going to work most importantly for me, for my family, and how can I, contribute a little bit too? So I started Lularoe in November of 2016, which is just like an online clothing boutique and in person. And so it was a lot of clothes, and I can make my own hours, and it was really fun to do that.
Okay, so it actually started as a boutique. Interesting.
Yeah, clothing boutique, yes.
And now, I know we talked off camera, it's still kind of transitioned, but it still has a boutique, like a storefront?
It does,
okay,
yes.
Okay, awesome.
Yep.
What kind of things did you get into after, the clothing?
After clothing, the biggest transition was in 2019. At the end of 2019, my mother had passed away. And she was really involved with me and everything that I was doing with Lularoe. And I needed to take some time off to grieve and take care of myself, because now I have 2 children to take care of, and I knew I didn't want to not be there for them. So I went to a yoga class with a friend, and I have done yoga before, but there was something about this class. It was a hot yoga class, and at the end of class in Shavasana, which is our ending pose, resting pose, I wasn't crying, but I just had a big emotional release, and like tears were coming out, and it just was like, this is where I need to be, this is what I need to be doing. And I just jumped right into the yoga teacher training that they were starting, I think, in just a couple weeks.
Oh, wow.
And so
Timing.
It was an intense 12-week program where you go there for 12 weeks, and it's 200 hours, and we met a few times a week, and that's what it was, intense.
Wow.
And I did the hot track, and to make myself take that time after my mother passed was just what I needed. And then one of the first things I asked when I signed up was, how far away is there a set amount of miles I need to be if I open up a studio? So like I already had that in my head. As soon as I signed up, okay, well, if I open up a studio, how far away do I have to be? Because with Taekwondo, it needed to be a 50-mile radius away from where I was practicing, and if I opened up a business, it needed to be a set amount away.
Is that like a contract with the people that taught it, or you mean like that's like a good rule of thumb for the industry or something?
I don't know so much for the industry. I know for the Taekwondo school that I went to, so it was no secret. I was getting my 3rd-degree black belt to open up a school, so the biggest thing was just that it needed to be 50 miles away. And so I just had remembered that and asked them when I was doing the teacher training, because I wasn't going to sign up if it was like a 10-mile radius, and that's what it was. It was a 10-mile radius, and I was like, Googled it. I'm like, all right, fountain's far enough. Like, that's good for me. All right, let's do this.
And the radius is based off of where the school is? Or?
I would say the radius is probably just based off of that specific business.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that it's a standard, but I think it helps protect them too, And 10 miles is pretty easy to work with.
Oh, yeah.
Outside of Pueblo, but
outside of Pueblo,
Pueblo West.
I was like, now it makes me wonder if like CrossFit has the same thing.
Maybe,
because I feel like
they do training.
You could throw a rock and hit the next CrossFit place,
Right.
So maybe they don't, but that's very interesting.
Maybe if it's coming from that. So I did a teacher training at Cambio Yoga, and so I just needed to be 10 miles away from that specific.
It's
school.
like a no compete contract.
I got you. Yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, absolutely. So. You found your location. Can you talk about the process of finding your location, or?
Oh man,
What was in there before too?
What was that?
What was in there before?
It was a church. A church was in there before, but how I found it was nap time for the boys, and we were driving around, and I just started driving around Fountain of places that I could see the location working, distance from home, and if it had like a for lease sale sign, I was calling and just seeing, because if you go online, there's not a lot. I think like commercial real estate.
What is there? LoopNet.com is probably the most
right, and then it's
list.
expired and it's not up to date information, and so I would just drive around, and I found this location, and it took me back to actually where I started my martial arts, and it was available, and it went really quick. I signed that lease even before I graduated my YTT program, so I knew
you were all in.
Yeah, and I told myself, if it's going to be hard, I'll make sure that I just I'm open to it not taking off, but if it just kind of came really easy and fell, and it truly felt like this is exactly what's supposed to be happening.
That's awesome. It sounds like you're a risk taker to begin with.
I am.
Because I would have freaked out, overthought it, and then backed out twice. You know, if it was me. But so what did initially you signed the lease, right? And you go in there and you're like, how do I make this mine? You know, what are some of the things that you did? Or I'm sure paint.
Yeah, paint goes a long way.
Oh, you did a lot.
Right away. The biggest thing was for hot yoga, which was going to be the specialty that I offer, is how do I enclose this space? Because when you first walk in, it's super open, and then when you go to the back area, it's open. So I don't want to heat 1,500 square feet. I need to have like a room. So it was just kind of figuring out how to do that, and I told my husband and my dad like what my vision was, and then they helped. Like it's been a labor of love. Like my dad and my husband were in there on his days off and at night, you know, putting up walls, and we had help with electrical, and so that was the biggest thing, was getting the room set up and then painting and then flooring. And
yeah, it sounds like a lot of work.
It is, and still to this
and then
day,
you still
to
can't
this day,
do anything until, you know what I mean? So like your startup cost is raising, and then it's like, we haven't made a single dollar. You know, we don't know if this is going to work.
I know. It's scary. I feel like I got pretty graduating that YTT program, making a lot of friends there, and having people ready to go and teach too, you know, having that space open and available to welcome them to teach too, and giving them a space, because not every studio is like, oh, you just graduated, yeah, you can teach a class. No, sometimes it's you've got to shadow for 12 weeks and it's you don't get paid, and I get why, you know, you're in charge of people and making sure that they're safe when they're in and out of their poses. So we had a lot of people from YTT join us, and that was I'm huge. Super great. It's huge. Like you said, we haven't made a single dollar, and how are we going to pay, you know, our subcontractors and get people in the door and advertise, and it's a lot.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of that falls on them as well. Like, obviously they want to get their friends and family, because that's who you reach out to in the beginning, to come to the class. So they're kind of securing their paycheck in a weird way. But it's like, how do we capitalize on that and keep growing more? So, from signing lease to first class, what did that timeline look like?
Signing the lease, March, let's see, we opened May 13th.
So that, like, I mean, it was
months,
like
about a month, a little over a month. So
that's crazy.
Just sharing how excited we were. So the thing about Fountain is there was no yoga studio there. So the biggest thing for me is when I was in my program, having to go to the studio and practice, I would have to get a sitter sometimes, and I'd have to pay for 3-4 hours, because it took me over half an hour to get to the space, and then classes an hour, and then to rush back another 30-45 minutes depending on traffic. It was not accessible. It didn't make sense to just get 1 hour of practice in. So I knew I wanted to make it accessible, and I was really excited, and to get the community excited. And so that was the biggest thing, was just sharing that, hey, this is opening.
I was going to say, so when you signed it, I'm sure that was the moment that you started sharing and building the hype for
I want to say I shared right after we graduated, because like I said,
you signed before
I hadn't even graduated the program yet, and
Okay.
I actually didn't even pass the first I didn't pass the first one. I was teaching like way too quick, and I was way too nervous, and then I went back and then I passed. I went a couple weeks later. So but we announced after we graduated.
No, that's awesome. And then fast forward to kind of now, like, how's everything?
Everything's going good. It is myself. I have had a business partner in the past, and now that it's just me, I am finding what does that look like.
For sure.
And you know,
Roles.
it's a lot to navigate. Roles. You know, there was. You know, it's me, and I know it's not always just me. I've got you know, my teachers and the community and my family, and so it's really great to be finding that.
Yeah, and you mentioned the community. So was the community really open and inviting to something like that?
They were, yes. The biggest thing when opening this, not only to make it an accessible practice space, but to give back to the community. So we started right away with yoga at the park, and right now we're still doing yoga at the park, and it's a completely free class.
Nice.
And now I've also teamed up with other small businesses. So when I think of giving back to the community, it's not just to your neighbors and friends and family. It's to the other small businesses too,
sure,
and working together. And so I've been very lucky to have people sponsor where after yoga class we have like cupcakes or Macs or nutritious drinks. And these people are right there in Fountain. They're local, they're small, they're military. I mean, our kids go to school together, and so it's really nice to work together and
like
to
kind of
bring,
unify everything.
to bring this free event, and people really love it.
That's huge. Yeah, I definitely think the collaboration is like absolutely huge. You hang flyers up in your area for them and vice versa. Like it just makes things a lot more like family oriented.
Yes.
I think the free yoga is really cool too, because I kind of think yoga, I think anything physical, like any activity, can be intimidating for a lot of
Very
people.
much so.
So going to the gym for the first time or going to yoga, doing a class like that. So to be able to do it for free at a park, very opening, like I think it's a very smart
Thank you.
business strategy, honestly.
Trying.
And
Have you seen a lot of conversion from like first timer or newer clients?
We've had at least 5 new people every single Sunday so far. And so my hope is just, if that's just
keep
the one
one.
class that they need, then great. But your first time into the studio is also free. And
that's nice.
I want that to be, again, accessible. And like, you said, it can be intimidating stepping into a gym, stepping into a yoga studio, and just want it to be really like welcoming and safe for them to do that if they choose to. And even falling out of your practice and getting back in, even if you're not new to a studio, it's hard sometimes, like to
For sure.
meet new people and get out there and try to find a community.
Of course, yeah, absolutely. Now, I mean, just because I don't understand, so is it like a monthly like payment that they do, or is it per time they go, or
A little bit of both.
a little bit of both?
For me, when I would go to the gym or go somewhere, I don't always like signing contracts.
Sure,
I don't know if I'm going to be able to come here for 12 months. But we do have monthly unlimiteds where you can sign up for a month, a rolling month, and pop into classes. Or we have drop-in fees where you can just pay for your one class. And then we have class passes where you can buy 5 and make
Kinda
it
like
work
tanning,
for you. Yeah,
essentially.
so
I
don't know. I don't know if it's
my
like
bad.
that.
Well, yeah, tanning, you can buy like a package of 15 and
Really?
like you can use it over the course of a year.
I know a lot about tanning salons.
Yeah, I mean, used to GTL a little bit, but
My parents owned like one of the biggest tanning salons in town.
Really?
So
oh, really? Okay, so
I know
it does sound like the tanning.
That's
I thought you were
really
just,
how it is. Yeah,
I had no
I thought you were
idea.
just
I
talking
mean,
shit.
most of the people will do the monthly tanning things. Just pay every month to do it. But it's the same thing because it's like, well, you can go whatever 5 days a week, 6 days a week, but most people go like 2 or 3 days a week. You know what I mean?
Right. Take advantage of that monthly. That monthly.
Yeah.
and sometimes it doesn't work for people's schedule, and they can only make it a couple times a month. And I want that to be available to them.
I mean, because it is instructor led, correct?
It is.
So it's not like you can get a 24-hour gym pass and you can go at like 2 a.m. when it's convenient for you.
Right.
You kind of has to fit around everybody's teaching schedules over there, right?
Correct.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. All right. See, that makes more sense.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I mean that structure sounds like the best case.
Yes, and
sure.
kicking off next month, we're going to start adding in what we call open studio days.
Oh, wow.
And so we'll have a teacher there a couple times a week, and people can just drop in for $5 and practice anytime from, I would say, about 9:30 to 2. And that also lets people come to the boutique or just has the door open for people to ask questions. Well,
Sure.
what's your class schedule? Meet the teachers and. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's a genius.
Because we used to just like lock the doors once class starts, and then once class is over, like the teacher would just dip out and leave. And so this makes it a little bit more opening for people to come and stop by.
Exactly. So are you still selling Lularoe?
I'm not, no.
Okay.
So I had my Lularoe clothing in there for the first couple years, and then I think I got donated it. I think
I'm not
about
mistaken. Lularoe is like Pamper Chef, but for women's clothing, correct?
Correct, yes.
Yeah, it used to be just like I did some work for
okay.
somebody. It used to be
Nice.
women's leggings, and then it like went on full outfits and stuff like that, where you have like the party and people can host, and you're trying to buy get enough sales for the host to get her outfit
Perks,
right.
yep.
Okay. I knew the name sounded familiar, but it just clicked now. But I wasn't sure if you were still having Lularoe in the front.
No, so I gave that up completely. For me, I went all in with Lularoe.
Nice.
Like I spent $10,000 on inventory up front.
You are all in kind
I
of
was,
person.
but that was not
personality.
the way to probably, like, looking back and from Best Buy to Lularoe, like, it's made the studio
what it is.
For like, sure. Just learning all of that stuff. And I will never spend $10,000 on inventory ever again.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Never.
The return on investment is like, that's a hustle. You know, that's like if you were selling Pure Romance, $10,000 worth of product is a lot of product. You know?
Yeah, I mean, no one really wants to carry inventory for anything. Not even like car lots anymore. You know what I mean?
Yes.
They want you to order everything.
This is the season of scarce. You know, so even look at Taco Bell. They don't even have the Mexican pizza right now. You know, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They brought it back. It's on the menu,
but it's just not.
It's sold out. You know, like it's all about exclusivity and like pushing people to impulse. You know, which you kind of can do, you know?
Right.
So, I mean, in the boutique, I guess you can. Like, if you have a local beekeeper and their honey's the shit, you know, like, you carry a little bit of that honey, you're going to drive people in.
Yes.
You know?
Or plants, if it's, like, a rare plant or...
For sure. Even, you know, all the way down to, like, plant holders, you know? Yeah. That's super awesome. So...
You do some classes, too, like, I know you have done macrame classes in there and stuff.
So we'll hold workshops at the studio also. So, like Brad said, macrame workshops where we've done yoga mat, like, holders. We've done plant hangers. We've done cool wall hangers. Aside from that, we've done, like, sound baths and specialty classes. So we utilize that space,
huge,
throughout the month.
Absolutely.
And it's not just yoga.
Yeah, and I feel like being multifaceted and doing things like that's outside of yoga, you're still creating the community. What do you think has been your biggest, like, obstacle to overcome?
Biggest obstacle, personally, would just be balance, and that's just I think it's never going to be something that I've got down, but if I've got a good grip on it, I'll be happy. But it was just balance. Like, you put all this time into starting this business, and then, well, now it's got to run, and you have to sit there and decide, you know, what is it that you're going to do, and what are you going to pay for someone to do or help you out with, and you spend all the money getting it started that you've got to do a lot in the beginning. So the boys would come to the studio a lot, and then we weren't home, and I don't want the boys to not enjoy being at the studio it's like, well, you just have to sit there while mommy does this. Like, I want them to enjoy going there and have, you know, good mememories about that and having the small business. So it would be that personal balance of the business and the family.
Like you said, it's ever evolving. You know, the balance is always something, you know, whether it's like, okay, you take a step back from the studio, but now you're always on your phone. You know what I mean? You know, like, it never ends, you know? So it's all about, you know, balance and control.
I think, like, the whole work-life balance, I see it as like a teeter-totter. Like, you can never be in the middle. You would never be able to do it. You're always going to be back and forth to kind of try to balance it out that way in that sense.
Somewhere in the middle.
Right.
You just, as long as you're not just sitting on the ground the whole time, or you're up in the air the whole time, you know,
That's
for
a
sure.
good way to...
So
what are some of the things you would like to, you know, implement into the studio in the future?
I would say continuing to just build my relationship with other small businesses in the community. So just keeping that offering and keeping it being an accessible, safe and welcoming space for healing, with the open mat, my vision for that is, you know, since COVID, people working from home now, or maybe they've switched to homeschooling, and while practicing at home is nice, sometimes taking a step, like, out of that space, even if it's for an hour or 30 minutes, to just go and do that, you know, go and get on the mat, work it out, and then come back home, you know, because again, stay-at-home mom. I remember what that's like, being home all day and just needing to get out and just some time for myself. And so I hope that that's not just for moms, but people working from home. And
for sure. I feel like everybody needs a de-stressor. You said you sold, you know, you have crystals and stuff too.
Yes.
So, I mean, I'm sure you're big on energy and stuff like that. And going into there is, you know, moving energy and accepting new energy into your new studio and stuff like that, and just kind of like a nice little reset. I feel like that's huge.
We didn't even touch on COVID either, because your business was pretty affected by
2018, right?
So
you've been open.
Let's see, 2019, May 2019.
Oh, well, geez, so you're right in the thick of it already.
I mean, hadn't even been open a year, and it's like, boom. all right, here you
Here's
gotta
what
close. You have to
can't
close
do.
your doors.
Yeah, right. Here's what you can't do, and it's everything you
Exactly.
want to do. So what did that kind of look like for you guys? Did you just close your door, or did you find loopholes, or what did that kind of look like for running the business?
Right away, we closed our doors. I want to say March 15th, that Monday was just like, I mean, it was a hard, like, close the doors because, I mean, people stopped coming to class, I think, that week before leading up to it. They're like, well, are you having class? And what are the regulations and codes? And it was just, it was a lot of information
Nobody
from all
knew,
over the place.
you know?
Exactly. No one knew. So it was just like, look, let's just make that decision. Let's close the doors. You know, we want to be safe. We understand that there's something happening. And so we did a hard close, I want to say, for about 2 to 3 weeks.
Okay.
And then slowly eased into it. You know, right
Small
away
classes.
it was small classes and masks, and we had massage therapy at the time. So it was trying to figure out, you know, when that was going on versus a class so that there wasn't too many people in the building.
For sure. 6 feet apart, you know, like.
You guys
dang.
did some online yoga.
We did do some
too.
online
some
stuff.
Zoom
I
yogas.
What did that
personally
look like?
wasn't a huge fan
No,
of it.
yeah.
I had a couple of teachers that really enjoyed it. One for them, it was giving them something
Another
to look
platform,
forward
yeah.
to, you know, do. And even if they weren't getting out, they were still being able to connect with their students that they had in their class. For me, it was...
Disconnected.
It was hard for me just because I had the kids at home. My husband was still going to work. And so to have that space where it was just like isolated and I could teach, and they were still really young. I want to say like 1 and 3 at the time. I mean, it was hard for me to do that. And I love being like in person with my class. So I did it for a little bit and then I didn't.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, I couldn't imagine, you know, opening, you know, putting all this money into it, dumping it, and then it's like, oh, you can't do your business, you know, which is super interesting. So did you take advantage? Did you have any grants or anything that
I did,
they did?
yes, yes.
What did those kind of look like? Or
Well, Brad was really helpful when he would see that there was some programs available, and I was just hitting him up because they needed a lot of information, like your statements and, you know, your taxes, and just to make sure you're spending the money like on business expenses. And so I did receive one from the city, one from the state, but that was just about it. And it was enough to keep the doors open.
That's
and
good.
to
keep you afloat,
to keep the teachers, you know, paid. But as far as myself, like even to this day, like paying myself, I just put it back into the studio.
That's good. Yeah. Especially in the beginning, I feel like that's the best way, you know, especially if you can do it within your family budget, you know. That's, you know,
That's
something.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, like, obviously you got to keep your, you know, food on your table, you know,
Absolutely.
as well. But
yeah, that's why it's like important to do bookkeeping and have this stuff, because like for a lot of the federal grants, city grants, any kind of loans that the government was offering, and this doesn't just for COVID relief, but for anything, they want year-to-year comparisons, month-to-month comparisons. So you can't just give them your 2 tax returns. They want, for COVID particular, they wanted to know what were you making month before COVID and then after COVID, kind of thing, like comparing your February to February and stuff like that. And so I think hopefully a lot of people that did experience this COVID thing kind of realized like having bookkeeping is actually more important than you would like to believe.
That's what I was going to say. It's, you know, it's a good thing you reached out to Brad from the very beginning.
Huge.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that would have made it that much more stressful. You might not have even did it if you were like, oh, I don't want to do this, or, you know, like, you know, I personally hate bookkeeping, so that's why Brad does it. But, you know, like there was a small stint with what I did where it was like, this is a hobby until it's not, you know, and like drawing that line in the sand and making sure everything is good from the moment it's not a hobby anymore, you know, and I don't think people realize that. So write that down for a reel. Yeah, write that down for a reel, because I don't think people really understand that.
No, and I did and I didn't when I first started. It was one of those things where I tell you, you know, you have to pick and choose what are you going to do and what makes sense to just, you know, pay it and make sure that you can afford that. And Brad was one of the things at the top of the list. Like, I could do it. I've done accounting before, but do I want to? Do I have that time? And I do not want to get behind on it either. And so I remember Brad, I think you were just starting too, right? Or
I think
you transitioned.
You came to me like early 19, so I was about about 2.5 years in. So
Oh, okay.
Was
yeah.
that the transition time into this?
no,
okay.
that was even
Still
before, because
before
I
that.
moved into this office in late 2020.
Oh, okay,
And so
yeah.
I think I started working with you before, like around February of 19.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I was like, 2.5 years in, kind of like that. So
And I was really happy to just know the person, because it gets a little bit scary when you have to find someone that you know and you trust
Yeah.
to take care of your business in that way. And just, I didn't know anyone else. I would say the tax person that I had do our taxes the year before, I actually never even met her. It was just like phone, email, and that would have. I don't know that would have.
Who
worked
knows?
for
She
this
might
business.
she might just be a tax preparer. She might not even offer bookkeeping
Right.
and total services for
right,
business.
and just to have somebody to go
Yeah.
to for like everything,
Yeah.
it was just
a no-brainer
it was so
almost.
nice.
That's awesome.
this segment is sponsored by DOS Financial Incorporated.
No, but for real,
Yeah.
it made a huge difference with COVID and having to get everything. It just,
Yeah, absolutely.
totally worth it.
Yeah, I mean, you have one chance to make this right. In a
Yes.
weird way, like everything works out the exact way it's supposed to. But like setting yourself up from the very beginning is huge. And makes life so much easier now. Like I'm sure you're not worried about bookkeeping as of any point. You as a business owner, you wear so many different hats. You're HR. You're the janitor. You're
Yes.
you're everything. You're security. You're so many different aspects. And accounting should be one of those that you don't really have to do. The last thing you want to do is sit in front of your computer and go through all your damn receipts.
And the thing with accountants is, good accountants pay for themselves. Like, essentially, they're free. Like, I save my clients way more money than I charge them. You know what I mean?
For sure.
But I think a lot of people don't really understand that concept. So some
Not
people
until
are
it's
like,
time.
"Oh,
Yeah.
that's cash flow coming out. That's you're not saving me any money. I'm paying you. But
just wait.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Tax season's a motherfucker for sure. Unfortunately.
Yes.
So moving forward, what are some of your short, medium, and long-term goals for you personally and for the business? I know you had talked about balance a little bit.
Yeah, balance for sure. Well, I would say right now with it being summer, a lot of where you're bringing up the teeter-tottering. I mean, I've been really with my family and trying to be present with the kids being young. I want to be there. It's going so fast. And with summer, it's such like a hit or a miss. I think, people are out of town or people are visiting. Our routines are just have been out the window from school. And
sure.
so I am excited to get back into a routine. I would say that, and then getting that open studio going. And I also do Reiki, so I'm excited to get into that and to offer it to more people. I've just been doing it for friends, family, and current students. So I'm excited to do that. I've been doing that for almost 2 years now, and you talked a lot about energy and stuff, and it's just a lot of energy work, and it wasn't something that I knew I always wanted to do. It really just happened during COVID, and doing a lot of private sessions too. So that was a big thing too, is private sessions,
Yeah.
coming in, and it would just be a family or just an individual or a couple. And that's when I found like the Reiki and the healing and doing that. It just called me. So I would say rolling out the Reiki, rolling out the open studio, and then long term, I hope that my doors, they're still open in 5 years and in 10 years. It's not something that I just wanted to open for a few years and call it good.
No, for sure.
This is where I'm going to raise my children, and I want to continue to give back to the school, to the police department, the fire department, the community, and just really everywhere, Fountain and surrounding areas.
That's huge. Absolutely. And then we do have a reoccurring question on the
Yes.
show. What do you want your lasting legacy to be?
Let's see. I thought about this. My biggest thing would be for my boys, and just to carry the values that me and my husband have for them. Not necessarily business related, not necessarily just like one direction. Our biggest thing is to have like love, family, happiness, and health in our house, and whatever that is for them, whether it's working at the studio or whether it's not. The boys are just now starting to show different interests, and I want them to do honestly what makes them happy. So that would be mine, is for them to carry just those values, and to remember that we didn't necessarily push a lot on them to do what we're doing, but for them to do what they want to do, and in that way, with their love, with family, and to be grateful for their health and to be happy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that's huge. That's super huge. I think a lot of people, kind of overlook, the core things, health, happiness, and love, and all that good stuff. And I feel like it takes something traumatic to happen or something to like make you stop for you to really appreciate that. So if you appreciate it every day, I feel like your quality of life just goes up. No, that's super huge.
Your health is, you take it for granted like every day.
Oh, yeah.
Most people until you're sick
or you get a toothache.
Yeah, like
My
even one
toothache
thing
took me out for a week, and I was
Isn't
like,
it crazy?
I can't sleep, nothing. And even when you have something as little as a stuffy nose, and you lay down, and you took for granted every time you could breathe out of both nostrils,
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's paramount. Obviously, taking care of your health is huge. So, where can people find you? We're gonna put the links down below, but
so you can find me in Fountain at 715 Dale Street. That is right off 8587 in a shopping plaza. And I am on Facebook, The Rooted Rose, and Instagram, The Rooted Rose Co. for Colorado. Nice. And then our website is therootedrose.com. So any one of those would be great. And come join the class.
And if you're coming from Pueblo, it's really not that far. It's like South Fountain. It's pretty much right off of I-25, like very, very close. North side Pueblo is 20 minutes to the studio. So
so it's right down the street essentially.
It's pretty close. Like it sounds like it's so far away, but you can check it out if you're in Pueblo. It's really not that bad of a drive.
Yes,
so
please.
If you have any questions, shoot her an email, give her a call, DM her, whatever, all of the things. All of the links will be down below, as well as links to me and Brad. We post new episodes every week usually. We only missed a couple weeks, my bad. But check us out on Thursdays on YouTube, and you can watch the episodes live. And for everything else, just check the links below. But this has been the Lasting Legacy Podcast. Good night.
Thank you guys for having me.